honey? Buckle up, because this is the kind of meltdown you don't just scroll past, you grab popcorn for. Meghan Markle is spiraling again, and this time, it's not just tabloids coming for her neck. Nope. Hollywood royalty himself, Leonardo frickin' DiCaprio, just ethered what little reputation she had left with one swift move. Her shitey podcast, yeah, that dream just went up in flames. It all started with Meghan chirping, "Hi, I'm Meghan, and I play a mean game of Scrabble." Like this was some wholesome girl boss coffee chat. But oh no, babe, this wasn't Scrabble.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. We were talking about our first interview.
This was career Russian roulette. Confessions of a Female Founder was supposed to be Meghan's Phoenix moment, her elegant rebrand, her Oprah arc. But instead, we got a clunky, cringe-ridden PR disaster that gave us secondhand embarrassment and made even her most loyal fans go, "Wait, what is this?" The show dropped like a glittery dud.
Show where I chat with female entrepreneurs and friends.
It was trauma baiting dressed in empowerment, with Meghan clutching her mug of buzzwords like it was holy water. We're talking authenticity, vulnerability, and resilience repeated like a mantra from a Pinterest cult. And then boom, enter Leonardo DiCaprio, the king of quiet cool. The man who reads scripts like contracts for the soul came in and indirectly wiped the floor with her.
We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. Thrilled to be here.
First want to just say congratulations to you on everything that you've done and everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Insiders say Leo was furious that his name was even mentioned in association with Meghan's emotional infomercial. He called her podcast manipulative brand first feminism. And trust me, that was the polite version. But let's rewind this juicy timeline. Meghan launched the podcast under her As Ever lifestyle brand, another meticulously gift-wrapped attempt to make us forget every PR fumble of the last 5 years. The graphics were soft, the pastel palette screamed mood board chic, and the press release, a temple of buzzwords. Empowerment, sisterhood, healing. Girl, we've heard it all before, but guess what? Behind that aesthetic, nothing. The packaging was pristine, but the box empty. Worse than empty, recycled. Every episode dripping in cliches like they were sponsored by a bathroom quote decal. The very first episode was supposed to be a banger. She brought on Jamie Kern-Lima, the self-made mogul of IT Cosmetics. We're talking real rags to riches. Former waitress turned millionaire CEO.
To prove something, to prove that you're enough, to prove that you're pretty enough, to prove that you're smart enough, you prove that you're a good wife or a good friend, and I was like, I am just so done.
This woman could literally light up a TED stage blindfolded. And what did Meghan do? She turned it into an emotional sleepover special. Jamie opened up about real struggles, male investors, beauty standards, shame, and Meghan, she jumped in with her own teary boardroom story. Instead of hosting, she hijacked. Instead of listening, she centered. Suddenly, it was all about Meghan's tears, Meghan's pain, Meghan's relatability. Cue the piano swells, the long dramatic pauses, the Oscar-worthy voice cracks. It was less podcast, more performance art.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. We were talking about our first.
Meghan wasn't the interviewer, she was the co-hero, the mirror, the main character in every guest struggle. And people were not buying it. The editing, calculated to extract your tears. The stories, overshadowed by Meghan's carefully crafted vulnerability. One industry insider said it best. It's not storytelling, it's sentimentality as self-promotion. She wasn't amplifying voices, she was weaponizing empathy to sell herself. Meghan Markle 3, the polished prophet of empowerment fluff. Want to know how bad it got? Meghan's name showed up in promo materials next to, you guessed it, Leonardo DiCaprio. And Leo's team went nuclear. Apparently, there were whispers of an upcoming segment with Leo, except it didn't exist. Meghan's team just dropped his name into the PR soup, hoping nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, they noticed. Leo's reps made calls, demanded mentions be yanked, and suddenly, the DiCaprio bump disappeared faster than Meghan's Spotify contract. His silence said it all. I do not co-sign this mess. And let's be clear, this wasn't about Leo being petty. It was about protecting his brand. He's not going to be linked to emotionally curated girl boss content that plays like a Hallmark tearjerker. See, in Hollywood, name dropping without receipts isn't just rude, it's career sabotage. It screams desperation. And Meghan, she's made it a habit. Oprah, Serena, Beyonce, always near her brand but never in it. And that Leo silence? It echoed. Soon, social media lit up. Critics were everywhere. Was Meghan faking connections? Is this just high-end grifting? The term Hollywood grifting even started trending, not on gossip blogs, on industry forums. Producers, PR insiders, podcast veterans, they all came out of the woodwork. This isn't a rookie mistake, one said. This is a calculated overreach. Meghan didn't just want a podcast, she wanted a cultural moment. And instead of earning it, she tried to borrow Leo's spotlight. Big mistake. The sad part, everyone saw through it. Meghan's podcast wasn't empowerment, it was emotional MLM. Her brand is Goop without the credibility, Oprah without the gravitas, LinkedIn posts in Duchess silk. And here's the burn. Leo doesn't even need to say he's distancing. His silence is louder than a call out. Meghan, on the other hand, keeps tying herself to legends she hasn't worked with, and it's turning her into a cautionary tale. And while Meghan's carefully curated sawfest was already raising eyebrows, Leonardo DiCaprio's withdrawal lit the fuse on a full-blown Hollywood explosion. Because the moment Leo's team pulled the plug and scrubbed her name from their orbit, the power players started whispering.
Being consumed by that adoration and the power of, being able to provide great amounts of wealth to.
And then those whispers turned into thunder. Suddenly, the glitzy illusion Meghan was selling started to crack. This wasn't about one podcast flop anymore. It was about credibility. And when your name gets dragged into the fake it till you make it Hall of Shame in Tinseltown, baby, no amount of pastel branding or healing energy can save you. And Hollywood insiders began dropping shade left and right. Meghan was being labeled as an emotional puppeteer, someone who strategically manufactures vulnerability to appear relatable while holding the narrative reins so tight you can hear the script creak. And just when we thought it couldn't get more embarrassing, Meghan did the one thing she always does when under fire. She doubled down. She cried harder. She whispered softer. She tried to own the space like she'd been personally blessed by Oprah herself. But this wasn't empowerment, it was pageantry. Audiences felt it, critics saw through it, and industry execs, they turned their backs so fast you could hear the whiplash. The podcast was no longer the story. The collapse of the illusion was. Meghan wasn't seen as a media pioneer anymore. She was starting to look like a LinkedIn influencer gone rogue. And that Leo rejection, it was the first domino. Insiders at production houses, PR firms, and even Spotify itself started whispering the same dreaded phrase behind closed doors. She's not authentic. And when that sentiment starts circulating in a town built entirely on the illusion of authenticity, you've got a problem bigger than bad ratings. You got a reputation implosion. What Meghan failed to understand is that in Hollywood, clout isn't loaned, it's earned. And trying to skip the line with forced tears and borrowed prestige, that's not confidence. That's called grifting with glitter. Meanwhile, Leo's move triggered a massive shift. Suddenly, Meghan's biggest defenders went silent. Serena, nowhere to be seen. Tyler Perry, crickets. Even Harry, once her ride or die, was MIAL. From every rollout teaser, post, or PR push connected to the podcast, and baby, that silence was louder than any headline. Where was Harry? The same man who gave up his royal life to stand beside her in this new world? Well, now he was standing somewhere else. Because apparently the only thing Harry was promoting these days was distance. Behind the scenes, sources were buzzing. Apparently, Harry had grown deeply uncomfortable with how Meghan was painting herself yet again as the eternal victim. Same script, different platform. And this time, Harry didn't want a supporting role. He's checked out, one source spilled. He's exhausted. He wants peace. Meghan wants headlines. Ouch. Their once unified brand, this power couple walking away from the crown to build a purpose-driven empire, had morphed into her stage.
I need to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point. but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for...
He wasn't interested in the spotlight anymore. We do everything together, Hari told Oprah in 2021, but that we has suspiciously turned into she, and fans noticed fast. One royal insider threw down the brutal truth. He left the monarchy to find his voice. Now he's just an accessory to her downfall. Absolutely savage. But it didn't stop there, because in 2025, we're past the performative phase of female empowerment content. People don't want emotional MLMs. They want truth. And Meghan, she's not passing the sniff test. Even her husband seems to be catching on. The very man who once set fire to Buckingham Palace's legacy in that Oprah interview now looks like he's quietly walking away from Meghan's spot. And that is the loudest red flag of all. Her biggest strength was always her ability to make the world feel something, to pull us in, to make us believe she was the woman underestimated, misunderstood, and misrepresented. But now, that magic's worn off. She's no longer the underdog. She's the establishment. And when the world stops rooting for you and starts watching just to see you fall, that's when you know the brand is in real trouble. So now we've reached the boiling point. Meghan's podcast didn't just flop. It triggered a chain reaction. One mistake, one fake association, one miscalculated monologue, and suddenly everything is unraveling. And in Hollywood, that kind of collapse doesn't happen slowly. It's an avalanche. Word is spreading like wildfire inside studios, PR circles, and production houses. Meghan Markle is becoming a liability. One senior executive from Audible didn't hold back. They reportedly called her podcast pitch.
And the specifics around her race, there was an opportunity, many opportunities.
The worst first impression in podcast history. Let that sink in. The worst. In an industry filled with delusional influencers and desperate micro celebs, Meghan Markle just set a new low bar. Brutal. But wait, there's more. Multiple high-profile women in media, women who were previously interested in collaborating with Meghan, are now backing away fast, quietly, carefully. Why? Because being associated with Meghan's brand is starting to feel like standing next to a collapsing building. You don't want to be anywhere near it when it hits the ground. And then we get to the real gut punch. Prince Harry, once the face of rebellion, the man who left the crown behind for love, for freedom, for a life of truth and impact. Where is he now? Gone. No podcast cameos, no voiceovers, no cute reposts, no subtle I got her back energy, just crickets. And that silence, it's not a coincidence. Sources close to the couple say Harry is tired of the spin, tired of every project turning into another Meghan versus the world sob story, tired of the public backlash, the forced narratives, and the never-ending performances. He's checked out, one insider revealed. Meghan's still fighting for relevance. Harry just wants a normal life. That divide, it's growing, and people are noticing. Because remember what Harry once said, whatever we do together. But now, it's not we, it's she. And that shift, it's loud. Louder than the PR pressers. Louder than the curated Instagram quotes. Louder than the desperate Spotify push. People are watching. People are whispering. Even Harry's absence is making headlines. Now, they've tuned out. And that's the scariest place to be in media, because scandals fade, hate dies down. But disinterest, that's the real Hollywood death sentence. Behind the scenes, sources say Meghan is still working, still planning, still chasing that elusive legacy. But unless the next chapter is real, unless it actually says something worth listening to, not just selling, then this story ends in a whimper. Because credibility, that's not earned with camera angles and piano swells. It's earned with truth. The Meghan Markle brand was built on the idea of being underestimated. And for a while, it worked. We believed, we supported, we defended. But now, she's no longer the underdog. She's the institution she once fought against. With million-dollar deals, elite access, and global recognition, Meghan has crossed the threshold. She's no longer punching up, she's holding the mic. And the people listening, they expect more honesty, more humility, more than just monologues wrapped in mindfulness branding. So what happens now? It's simple. Meghan has two choices. She can keep playing the role, keep churning out curated content in silk blouses, hoping the world claps again, or she can actually evolve. Step back. Listen, be messy, be imperfect. Stop performing and start connecting. Because people don't want perfection, they want progress. And if Meghan can finally drop the act and speak not from a teleprompter, not from a ghost-written brand deck, but from a place of honest reflection, then maybe, just maybe, she can rise again. But if the next chapter is more of the same, more buzzwords, more image control, more polished victimhood, then this era of Meghan Markle won't end in scandal, it'll end in silence. And in this town, that's the kiss of death. What do you think?